money laundering, do this, that's all of them are alleged cases.
Okay.
So the courts will actually determine whether Bernard and Chibu is actually culpable or culpable of all the offences that the NDC is listing against him. As to whether he's a criminal or not, only the courts can tell. You understand? But then whatever songs they say, whatever things that they say that this person has done this, they are just hiding under the veil of the law and then prosecuting their counterparts. Now, if you are saying that it is not political persecution, let us be honest with ourselves. How was Adento Kumi arrested and Dr. Ann Sansadali is still on the ground for false publication? How? In what republic?
What do you mean? I basically don't get it.
So I don't know whether you've heard.
I understand. I know. I'm carrying the political space. Adento Kumi was arrested for a different crime.
No, he was arrested for false publication.
Sure,
of course.
And Ann
Sansadali, yes.
Dali.
If you read the Criminal Procedure Act, Public Act, if somebody misrepresents himself
but Kofi, it hasn't been established.
What?
It is still in the what in the
what has not been established?
It hasn't been established that she's not a doctor.
It has not been established.
No.
So why was the appointment revoked?
That one unless
so it was established that Adento Kumi published false news.
Yeah.
It was established by which court? By which investigator? So Adento Kumi was a criminal, but Dr. Ansan Sadali is not a criminal. And you are telling me it's not a political persecution.
Okay.
Only time will tell.
Okay, time will tell.
You see, one funny thing about this whole episode concerning MPP and the various arrests made so far is that they talk about persecution, but they have not been able to deny the allegation that have been leveled against them.
You see, that has been the problem with politicians.
You know what?
If any political party takes office and he's trying to make sure that the right thing is done, the other party will say exactly. Political position.
But you know one thing, the people have been throwing that into the eye of the public has to do with the fact that you are innocent, you cannot accuse somebody of being a criminal, blah blah blah, whatever it is. You see, the law is
unless established by any.
Yes, the law. Look, the law is that I can call you a thief. Yours is to disagree with me.
Sure.
So the court comes in to confirm my allegation or
deny it.
You see. So the states can call Chemawun to me having committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they have to take him to court?
Yes. No, you can't.
You have
the power of prosecution.
No,
but you can't convict a person.
Yes, we are not convicting you.
No, so calling somebody a criminal is convicting the person of
no. Hold on. You see, we are dealing with law. I've always indicated that law is not emotions.
No, nobody's
the
emotional
law
here.
Is law. No, I'm not talking about you. The law is the law, as the suspended chief judge has pontificated. Okay. Now let's read chapter 6. Okay, that is Directive Principle of State Policy. It talks about the fact that every individual has the right to interpret the Constitution to your understanding and implement it as to how you understand it. Yeah. Okay? So, if I have read the Constitution, read the laws of Ghana, and I have seen that Party A has done A, B, C, D, in my view, it constitutes a criminal offense. The law allow me to call him a criminal. So the only thing I cannot do is to sentence such a person.
Yeah.
I don't have the power to sentence such a person. So I would therefore take the person to court for court to hear my story and based on my story sentence the person. Okay. The person also has the right to also debunk my allegation, and the court has the right to listen to such a person and confirm or deny the person's defense.
Sure.
Okay, so that is Article 34, particularly Clause 1. Say Directive Principle of State Policy contained in this chapter shall guide all citizens, Parliament, the President, the Judiciary, the Council of State, the Cabinet, political parties, and other bodies and persons in applying or interpreting this Constitution or any other law
Okay.
and in taking and implementing any policy decision for the establishment of a just society.
Okay.
So if I've read the law, Act 29, which deals with criminal offences, okay, that when you deprive somebody of his item, it constitutes stealing, and you have deprived me of my item, I can call you a thief. You have stolen my item.
Sure.
So I take you to court, I report you to the police. Yeah. The police take you to court. The court will hear my story, listen to your story, then based on what I've told the court will either sentence you, that is, convict you of the crime and sentence you accordingly, or acquit and discharge you if I'm not able to substantiate my allegations. Okay. That is why in criminal cases, after the criminal case trial has come to an end, there is something we call malicious prosecution. Okay, so if you think I have maliciously prosecuted you, you have a remedy in civil law to claim damages. All right, because of this position of the law. Okay, so the NPP over the period has failed to, indicate any of these offences that we have leveled against Chemawuntumi and other persons of their food, that the allegations are not true. We have indicated that Chemawuntumi has engaged in illegal mining, that is galamsey.
Okay.
We have also indicated that he took contracts from Cocoa Board and failed to execute same.
Sure.
He took money from Exim Bank to plant maize, which he failed to do same, and other criminal related activities. So if you think all these things are not true, just avail yourself. Let's go through the process. At the end of the day, the court has the power to pronounce you guilty or acquit you and discharge you. And after that, if you think it's a political persecution, you have a remedy under tort.
To also go to court.
Exactly. But they have not been able to mention any one allegation and debunk same.
You see, Charles is, as I've already said, he's singing a lot of songs. He has been mentioning the law. The law is broad. You understand? So, police officer will see somebody committing a crime. Okay, instead of calling the person a criminal, what do they call the person? A suspect.
Yeah, a suspect.
Right. Have you ever asked yourself why? Have you ever asked yourself why they don't call those people criminals?
Okay.
It is because the law says that you don't have the power to call somebody a criminal unless the court has convicted the person.
Okay.
Because the police officer will see you breaking the law, even though he knows the law says that if somebody does this, blah 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 blah. Even in that regard, he or she will never call you a criminal. He will call you a suspect in an ongoing investigation. Now, and then on the matter of you saying that, why is the NPP silent? Now, if the law says that if you arrest somebody, you have to read them the Miranda rights, which says that you have the right to remain silent. You understand? So the fact that somebody is silent on the allegations that you have put upon him,
that doesn't mean what you are saying is true. Okay.
The person will have his day in court, and then he will defend himself.
So MPP is waiting for their days.
Of course,
their days in court.
We are a party that believes in the ethos of the rule of law.
Okay.
You understand? So the fact that we are silent about something does not necessarily mean that we are guilty. It is our right to remain silent.
Sure.
You understand? But then, if they have a proof of burden that indeed you have actually committed a crime, they should put us in court. Isn't it as simple as that? So why the public persecution? Why would the Attorney General go on a live camera say that Kwabena Edubuahin has done this, bring witness statement? 2 weeks, 2 solid weeks, no witness statements on Kwabena Edubuahin. Why?
So you believe these are all public prosecutions? Yeah.
I am getting confused about.
Charles, don't be confused. Yeah.
You see, you said that Attorney General went on live about Kwabena Edubuahin.
He said that the guy has stolen money. The guy has done this. The guy has done this. He said all the charges in the press conference. Meanwhile, the guy wasn't even charged in the court of law. But then in the press conference, the Attorney General listed all the charges, even before going to the court with Atachia to charge him.
Maybe that is their
so that's modus operandi. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. How?
Is there
any law that forbids that?
No, you see, there's no law that forbids that. That's why I'm telling you that the fact that the New Patriotic Party, or better than Chibo Osiaku, has not denied any of the allegations doesn't necessarily mean that the person has done all the things you are saying they have done. Even if the law says the person has the right to remain silent.
No, so if that is the case, why are you calling it persecution?
So
The challenge has to do with your labeling of the accusation as persecution.
Of course, it is political persecution.
Simply because he is a political figure. Okay. Now, if you say
that has been our problem way back home.
Yes.
That has been our major problem. You see, people get into political power. They misuse our funds, and when another party comes into power and they are trying to make sure that the right things are done, it is political persecution. It started way back in the days of before Atamils, Mahama, the first coming of Mahama, Akufo-Addo. I basically don't get it.
I
basically don't get it.
There's one thing Charles and myself you agree on.
Sure.
That corruption, no matter the political party, is bad.
It is, yeah, it is.
Of course.
And he has to be, you see, Kofi, that has been my problem with NPP now.
Okay.
That has been my problem with the youth, even of NPP. The man has been arrested. These are the charges. Why don't we make sure we bring up all those sureties? I don't see the relevance of these parliamentarians marching up to Yoko. Now make sure that the bail conditions are met. If you believe that he hasn't committed any crime and that it is political persecution, why don't you grant him those sureties as Yoko requested? Then you go to court.
So you know there were sureties with Adento Committee, right?
Sure.
And then it was the party that made those sureties. So why is it that you think that on this occasion it's not like we are finding it difficult to? Why is it on this occasion the party hasn't met the conditions?
And why is it that they haven't gone to court?
Yes,
to review it.
I'm even foreseeing that nobody is willing.
So that is the thinking now. Nobody is willing to stand in for chairman.
I don't think that is the thinking. I mean, that is my party, and then I don't think that's the thinking.
Okay.
I mean, people have won in, but you see, I can for almost as a word train idea for sure.
Let me be clear.
Now, you understand my point?
I get you.
It means that it is not as if the party is not willing to actually meet the conditions.
So the party can meet it.
Of course.
But they don't want to meet it because they believe the bail conditions are. They believe the bail conditions are too much.
This is unreasonable.
So they should go back to court.
Of course. So what about Edubuahi's own?
That means that Edubuahi, they believe that the bail conditions were okay.
So you see, every lawyer and its legal strategy.
Okay.
You understand? The lawyer for Edubuahi is Atachia. He has his legal strategy. And I mean, for all you know, Edubuahi is not the member of the New Patriotic Party. He's a state official.
Okay.
You understand my point? So
he's not a member of the New Patriotic Party.
Since when did Edubuahi become a member of the question? Somebody who has worked in the Signals Bureau for the past 7 years. He's not a member of the New Patriotic Party. He is not a member. And I'm saying this categorically.
Okay.
He's not a member of the New Patriotic Party.
Your question.
Okay. So that's
that is my problem.
No, you see, it's not like we are not doing what you're supposed to do.
Because they have to make sure these are the bail conditions, meet the bail conditions, let the man out of then go to court.
So do you really think that a big party like the New Patriotic Party won't be able to meet the bail conditions?
Then I think they are afraid of Chemaun to me.
No,
they are afraid that when they bail in, the man will give them problem.
I'm saying that there is something somewhere.
Which is?
There is something somewhere.
Tell us.
And as to that, time will tell.
Okay.
We are all here.
Well.
Okay.
We are all here.
Okay.
But time will tell.
We live to see.
Because
we live to see because we are waiting for the man to be.
No.
Then we want to see.
How can they be attached?
We want to see.
Yes, for me.
You mean something is wrong?
For me,
something is wrong somewhere.
We want to see what happens in court.
For me, my interest lies in the fact that all those involved in this whole process should adhere to the rule of law.
Sure.
Should adhere to due process. Nobody should, as it were, misuse the powers conferred by the state on them to,
harass anybody,
to maltreat Chemaun to me or any other Ghanaian.
Sure.
Okay. So I will end my submission by saying that Wontumi should do well, and MPP at large should do well and stop these unnecessary marchings to state institutions, causing unnecessary
tension and stuff.
in the country,
Charles,
and
personally,
ensure that they provide the surety.
Personally, I want to see the
Because
banter in court.
The powers of the state are more than that of the MPP. And I can assure you, the MPP cannot do anything.
So you see what he's saying?
The MPP cannot do anything outside the law.
Because
Sure.
they don't have power.
Sure.
No, I'm saying that the
want to
powers of
bully
the
us.
state, the powers of the state at every point in time is much more than the powers of an individual or a group of people.
No.
Okay.
And this members exempt.
So
Because if Dr.
MPP thinks that they will not follow the due process, they will not follow the rule of law, at the end of the day, the security will deal with them.
Sure.
Okay? Yes. So I will advise them to, secure the bail for Chamawun to me so that you
We
have
can go
his
back to court.
temporal. Yes,
you
you
want
want
to see the proceedings in court,
You
and
go-
want to see how
Yeah,
you see, we'll pick up reporters.
Yes,
and we will definitely
let
have
me
people
also
report.
correct this impression. See,
Okay.
an attorney general is an attorney general for the good people of Ghana. Okay, so if attorney general is addressing the public on issues that he is about to take to court or has taken to court, nothing stops the attorney general from doing so. That is why the law gives the attorney general limitations. Immediately he files the case in court, the case becomes sub judice, so he cannot talk about it. So after attorney general has filed Kwablaidu Jemfi's case, you wouldn't have you seen him talk about that in the public space? No, because the case is now sub judice. So it is not out of order for attorney general to address the public on matters that he thinks
Okay.
are
So
worth,
in the next 5 minutes, I just
prosecuting.
wanted to shift this to this area. Charles, is it the reason why the president wants to take off the CJ so that they can find their way through?
Otabo, please, before you go to Charles on this issue, there's just one more thing. Now,
Okay.
you mentioned the fact that our demonstrations are a nuisance. I think I don't agree with that. But then, if you
Demonstrations.
say that, you said our marchings.
I said these matches are unnecessary.
Okay,
yeah,
I
sure.
didn't say they are I didn't say they are nuisance.
Okay, fine. So if they are
Because
necessary,
they are
I understand.
Okay.
But then after the election petition in 2020, we also what the NDC did. You understand?
Okay.
And then it's not like they don't know the law.
Election 2020.
They
You went to
knew
court.
the law. They knew the law. You understand? But then
And
still,
after court, there were a lot of marching around.
so that is my point. So he shouldn't. He doesn't even have the moral authority to come and sit here and tell us this. You understand my point? So
Let's shift from Jemau to me. I just want us to talk about in the next 5 minutes so that we run up and we see if there are comments to read.
Yeah.
Is it the reason why they are trying to take away the Chief Justice so they could find their way in court?
That is not the case. Whatever is happening in the Chief Justice situation also has to do with the law of the land.
I leave you to make your submissions in the next 5 minutes.
Okay. Yes. So whatever is happening is premised on Article 146.
Okay.
Okay. Where the president, in the case of a Chief Justice, where the president receives a petition for the removal of the Chief Justice, the president will have to submit it to the Council of State in consultation with the Council of State. Then they will determine a prima facie case. Determining a prima facie is not judicial. It's not quasi-judicial. It is simply an administrative function.
Job, yeah.
Okay. So even at that point, the Chief Justice is not required to bring a submission or a response because it is not an inquiry. What prima facie simply means is that looking at this paper or looking at the petition, is there anything meritorious for an answer to be demanded from the Chief Justice?
Yeah.
It is just an administrative. That is why in the removal process or in the removal of Charlotte Osei, Chief Justice Sophia Akufu sat in the comfort of her office alone to determine the prima facie without requiring any response from Madame Charlotte Osei,
yeah.
because it is an administrative function. Okay. Now, having determined whether the petition has merit or lacks merit, then you set up, if it has merit, you set up a committee to do the inquiry itself. It is at that point that the Chief Justice will be required to produce defense or responses. Okay?
Yeah.
But in this situation, the president, even as part of his transparent nature, gave the Chief Justice the opportunity to make input into the determination of the prima facie.
Sure.
Okay, so if I hear some lawyers and some legal advocates indicating that the Chief Justice ought to make an input in the determination of the prima facie case, I just wonder where they are getting this kind of legal proposition from. Okay, because the law is clear. The president, in consultation with the Council of State, determines prima facie.
And they have.
After determining the prima facie, then they will set up a committee.
Yeah, sure.
The committee will then go into the matter properly. That is why it is quasi-judicial.
Sure.
Okay, so the removal of Chief Justice is premised on law. The president received petitions, did what the law has asked to do, and now the Chief Justice has been suspended also under law. Okay, and she is subjecting herself to the proceedings of the committee. Okay, that is why all the cases or all the suits that have been mounted in terms of the injunctions, applications to the Supreme Court seeking to halt the suspension and proceedings of this committee have all failed. Okay, so the Chief Justice removal is not political. It is not actuated by malice, or it is not actuated by the fact that NDC want to appoint its own Chief Justice. No, because the work of Chief Justice is in twofold: head of the judiciary and head of the judicial service, administrative and that of judiciary. Okay, so it is not in the interest of the president to remove a Chief Justice before he can have his cases or the matter head in court.
Okay, so Kofi, you have the next 5 minutes.
All right, sure. So this before I make my submissions, okay, this is a very interesting topic. Okay, and it is a very, 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 very sensitive issue because we are dealing with the law, and then I don't want to have on my record commit any legal crime. Okay. You understand my point? So before I make my case, I believe you understand what we term as premeditated murder. You understand? Okay. So it means when something is premeditated, it means the person had already talked about it. Yeah. Okay. So I want to play a video. To the hearing of our audience. Today I said my case is not with Charles. The listeners at home will make their case.
Can production have that video? What video is that?
Chief Justice, my God, I must say, Wama and Sakaya reforms, Papa be Encoso, Ewo Atemu, Ejumanimuna, Emma Ghana for Yetimu, and ye fine. Was it I me among Painda, John Dramani Mahama, Ami Crawford, Gamu, Atima, NDC, Ewo VP, Miria, Junabaya, 2 years more, many NDC am I calling in Atemu, my God, I must say, the Betty, a cousin Supreme Prefa, say, and you may be a more ayano and Shada and Koye, and Tianu more how problem dear Cassia said, what
so this is my first video of the premeditated murder for the judiciary. I go to the second video.
A gathering of NDC lawyers somewhere in September last year. You urged them to aspire to become judges so that you can appoint them to bring a balance to the judiciary, which you have termed as an NPP-inclined judges. I want to know if you still stand by this position, and if by this you mean that if you become president, you will appoint NDC sympathetic judges or promote them.
All right, so I'll continue with my case now, and then please my
So who was speaking?
So the first video was a report by UTV on the position of John Dramani Mahama with the judiciary after the 2020
that was when?
2020 election petition.
Okay.
And the second one was prior to the elections. Musawa Amiye was asking John Dramani Mahama about a comment he made that NDC lawyers should, aspire to be there so that he can appoint them to the Supreme Court when he becomes president. And then, unfortunately for President John Dramani Mahama, he couldn't answer that question.
Okay.
Now, this is my last video.
The full video.
Please,
you couldn't answer the question.
The fourth Republic of our country.
You can send it to us.
The Supreme Court of our nation has spoken.
Yeah, because
The result
then
of the,
we work on that
the
next week, because we
December
have-
2012 presidential election has been confirmed as having been won by the candidate of the National Democratic Congress, President Mahama. As I said earlier, whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it.
That is what I wanted to hear. Now, so these are two political figures representing two different political parties and two different opinions. Now, we've heard in the first two videos the disdain the John Dramani Mahama and the NDC had for the judiciary even before assuming the ethos of power in 2024. Now, this was Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in 2012 accepting the decision of the Supreme Court headed by the Georgina Tudewe, who was appointed by President John Ajokun Kufuor. You understand my point? So he accepted the decision of the court, even though he disagrees with it. Now I can play one more video, but then it will take my time.
Sure.
Okay. So as to whether the whole process is political or not, me as I sit here, I can't tell.
Okay.
And then I don't want to actually commit any murder or any contempt of court. You understand? So he was saying that the whole process is political and the whole process is regulated by law. Of course, John Dramani Mahama has never committed any blunder or has done nothing unconstitutional according to the laws of the country. You understand?
Okay.
If he receives a petition, he does what he's supposed to do with the CJ. Everything that he has done is constitutional. It's not unconstitutional. But then again, I've already told you that the law looks as intent. You understand my point?
Okay.
So, looking at the utterances of John Dramani Mahama and the NDC coming from 2020 to 2024, and if they should actually be bold and tell us that all that they are doing is not in the name of political persecution, only God and time will tell.
Only God and
let
time
me
will tell.
correct an impression because
Okay, Charles, just a minute,
the
because we have
the
just
public
2 minutes to wrap up.
will consume this.
The public will not consume anything. You see, I just
he's
made
misleading the public.
I'm not misleading
Okay.
anybody. You
In
make
the
your
sense
case.
that the time frame is very, very important here. The time is essentially the president, then flag bearer of the NDC, indicated or made this statement was at the time that Justice Enimi Yabua was
Okay.
about to go on retirement.
Okay.
Then he made a statement that it will take a new CJ to correct the image of the judicial service or the judiciary. It wasn't the case that Tokonu was in the seat.
Okay.
And he made the
Who
statement.
talked about Tokonu
I'm
here?
not talking. I'm saying something. It is not the case that Tokonu was in the seat and he made that statement. It was when Justice Enimi Yabua was about to retire that he made a statement that it will take a new CJ I'm coming.
To whitewash the
to
image of the judiciary.
The image of the judiciary. It was during that same program that he indicated that NDC lawyers should also avail themselves to be appointed judges because over the years so many people don't want to go to the bench. Okay, so it was just it was a call on them to avail themselves when
the need arises.
Yes, the need arises. Okay, so it is not a matter of because of that I want to remove the CJ. No.
So what he was not getting was that I didn't have a problem. I didn't single Justice Tokonu out. This NDC as a political party, I mean, you all know their history. They have a disdain for the judiciary. You understand?
What are you talking about? We
Oh,
have a
of course.
disdain about the judiciary.
We all know what Jerry Wallace did on 30th of June 1982.
What did he
we
do?
ought not to go there.
What did he do?
They bust in the face of the Supreme Court. Justice for the court.
The debate continues way back home.
The
debate continues way back home.
When you go on this tangent, you not close. Because there is no evidence as to whether the PNDC sanctioned the killings.
I mean,
okay.
So that is why I said allegedly.
So
conclude.
can I say that all murder cases that happened under Nanado regime, Nanado sanctioned it?
No.
That would be unreasonable.
Because we live in a democracy
during
now.
the PNDC era.
We live in a democracy now.
Hold on.
Let the debate continue.
We live in a democracy
My
now.
time is up.
We live in a democracy now.
Yes, we live under
So you
democracy.
can't
I have just a minute to wrap up.
if we live under
We know
democracy,
that
yes,
for the-
but
for the
even
judiciary.
during military rules, if there are killings, you cannot subscribe it to the ruling.
So who should subscribe to do now?
Okay.
This is a simple question.
Murder is a criminal offense.
So who killed the judges?
So if
Who killed the
people
judges?
or judges have been killed,
Who killed the judges?
who do I
Let the
know?
public judge.
Do I know?
Let the public
So,
judge.
Do I know? I do not know who killed the
Exactly my
judge.
Let the public
Same
judge.
way,
The
you also
public-
do not- you are
Thank you, my
condemned.
fellow listeners,
The
for
public
coming
will
my
determine,
way.
Yeah.
Okay.
The debate is getting heated in the studios, but we need to leave.
We birthed the 1992
The debate is
Constitution.
getting heated in the studios, but we have to go.
What?
We are serving
What
both
national
God
consensus?
and country. We are
Never
serving
say
both
that.
God
What
and
you
country.
say?
Thank you for
Never say
joining
that.
us
It
on
was a national
Topical,
consensus.
What
Top
national
Afric,
consensus?
It was a national
Top
consensus.
Politics. This is your servant Otapel Jr. I'll come your way again next week, Friday, with Charles and Kofi Usu. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. I love your submissions, and they are all on point. Thank you very much, our fellow listeners, and I am out of your way. Bye-bye.
Bye. The disdain these people have for the democracy.